Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today we're going to be unboxing Massive Darkness, a game by CMON Games, or Cool Mini or Not Games, as well as Guillotine Games. I'm really excited for this one. This is a dungeon crawler, and essentially the mechanics are based off of Zombicide, but it is its own game and has its own set of mechanics. But I believe it was kind of a spawn off of Zombicide. Has a little bit more going on in it, and is more of a campaign-based system. Again, I don't know too much of the details until I dive into it, but I can tell you from owning Season 1 all the way up to Black Plague of Zombicide, this was really, for me, potentially a replacement for Seasons 1, 2, and 3 of the prior modern Zombicide, and I'll likely be keeping the Black Plague version, because I went ahead up there in the way in the top, as I got the add-on for the Black Plague cards, so that I can mix monsters in with this game and vice versa, I believe. So that's really cool, and heroes, I think, too. So that's kind of the main reason why I picked this up as well. It's a whole other world for us to explore, and honestly, I feel like recently the amount of dungeon crawlers coming out in amongst the same time frame, for me anyway, has been insane. Like Sword and Sorcery, Shadows of Brimstone I'm still going through, and now Massive Darkness. I think I have enough worlds right now to be diving into, so I just want to let you guys know there absolutely will be a Rolling Solo showcase for this Massive Darkness game, which will encompass this unboxing, a solo overview, solo setup, a solo overview, a playthrough, and then a component overview at the end. But anyway, this video is solely about the unboxing, so I'm going to do my best to get as much of it unboxed as possible. We'll likely get through the core for sure, and then we'll see where we're at, and maybe do some little extras on the side. So I'm going to push everything out of the way, and in order to speed things up, I actually already took the plastic off the Massive Darkness box, mainly because I just didn't want to have to sit there and have you guys watch me struggle with it for 50 years. Instead, we can get right to talking about what's inside. Before we just rip it open, though, I do want to flip it over to show you what's on the back, just to give you an idea as to what it looks like. Because again, if you guys are interested in picking this up retail, you'll have a better understanding. So it's a Massive Darkness is a cooperative game for 1 to 6 players. Again, from your vantage point right now, it might be difficult to see, so I'm just going to zoom in a little bit for you guys so you can see a little better. So it's 1 to 6 player game, ages 14 and up, and it's about 2 hours average. And I think that's an average time frame because I know based on Zombicide scenarios they range depending on how many tiles are in play. So obviously more tiles, longer exploration. Shorter, if it's only 2 tiles, will likely take a much shorter amount of time. So this is probably their accumulated average, essentially. But you've got yourself 6 miniatures, it looks like, on the back of the box, as well as a ton of enemy miniatures. And some of these are really cool and large. But anyway, we'll see them as we crack it open. So let's pull this back out a little bit, and we'll start tearing into this thing and see what we've got inside. So I'm going to flip this back over. And hopefully the point of this video for you guys is to get an understanding of what's inside so you guys can make a decision as to something if this is something you guys want to add to your collection. So just bear with me a second here, I'll get my fingers underneath, and there we go, we've lifted off the box. So again, artwork wise, very cartoonish, doesn't take itself too seriously, has like an animated feel to it, which I really like, because a lot of the dungeon crawlers are in that same vein with Zombicide, so it does have that vibe of an artistic feel to it, and stuff like that, so I do like that style. And the color of the box is actually quite vibrant too, and would show up on the shelf quite nicely. All the edges have tons of real estate to put art on. I think it's about, the Massive Darkness box here, I think Black Plague is probably about this thick. Massive Darkness has at least another inch worth of depth to it. So that just goes to show how many miniatures, or at least size of miniatures, they've jammed into this box. So let's get right into it. We've got the rule book. Again, a nice glossy rule book. If you're familiar with Cool Mini or Not, they always do very good rule books in terms of, it's very easy to read them, they're very colorful, and they provide many examples. They also have a nice component list at the very beginning of the rule book, nice chapter, or table of contents I should say. 69 enemy miniatures, there you go. If you want to know the number of miniatures in the base game, you are. You've also kind of got your major monsters lined up around the bottom. And then your agents, I think, majority of them are in the middle, and some other boxes. And then your minions are kind of running along up top, as well as your cards and stuff like this, artifact cards, door cards, level cards, depending on what level you're in the dungeon, roaming monster cards, and of course I think these are item cards, maybe? No, guard cards. Those are for enemies. So again, you got yourself a nice story here, so you can read this in your own time in order to determine what's actually going on in the world. And of course the setup. Now we'll be talking about this in the solo setup video, which is coming up next after we completely unbox the game. So I'll be covering how to get this thing to the table in the shortest amount of time with no rules involved. So hopefully that'll help you guys in getting this thing to the table. Again, I'm not going to fix too much of my time on just going through the rule book, but just want to give you a quick idea of essentially what it looks like. It's always well laid out. I never really had a problem with CMON Games and how they do rule books. They tend to do very, very well. And because they do change up their style, so it doesn't always look the same, but they do a really good job of errors and things like that. And also there's usually little to no confusion about the rules. So that's great. So we'll put the rule book aside because that's not the most exciting thing to open up and look at when you first crack a game. You do get some tokens here. Now, I didn't go ahead and get or have any access to the plastic versions of these, but you can actually get plastic bridges and plastic tokens like you can with any Zombicide game. But for now, I'm just going to stick with the cardboard ones. If I love the game so much that I believe I want to have the plastic tokens, I will do so. For now, I'm happy with just the cardboard ones, but here's a good look over. You got yourself some doors, and you got yourself some, these are the different levels, I believe, of the dungeon as you go through. Again, these are more objective these are more objective tiles, treasures on them. This is more like a cave of some type. Imagine some monsters can come out of there, spawn. You got health tokens everywhere, and exits, first player token in the middle. Got a whole bunch of treasure chests, because what else are you going to find in the dungeon is treasure chests, tons of them. And then the backside looks like question marks for those. You got some more treasure chests. Columns, so very cool with the one I have here. We have chests and pillars in 3D, so I actually have these chests and pillars in a 3D form, like a miniature form, so I don't have to use those tokens. And then of course some bigger ones, I think 5 hearts just for bigger hits against you, things like that. So only 2 token sheets in this for tokens, but again, I'm sure once we get to the, I kind of forget with CMON, I should know this, but there's definitely more sheets in here. Yeah, they're at the bottom, but you don't have to punch them out. So again, you get a big box. This is always miniatures. In a CMON game, typically when you see this inside of a box, it's just jam-packed full of miniatures. So I'm going to do a quick push. We're going to shove this box out of the way. We're going to move this box to the center so you guys can see this insanity. And here is, oh my gosh. So this is a mix of all the miniatures as well. Looks like the player boards, and I believe there's some other stuff falling out from the bottom. But that's a lot of stuff. Okay, so we're going to have to go through this slowly. It looks like it's 2-tiered deep, but the first tier has a lot of miniatures. I'm going to try to get them as close to the camera as I can without spilling them everywhere. But there you go. There's some, I believe those are dwarves. Yep. And then you've got some archers kind of going up. And again, different poses for the different guys. Again, some are agents, some are regular units. So hopefully you're able to see the details on those. But CMON makes incredible miniatures. And some people actually purchase this game not even just for the game itself. They purchase it for the miniatures just to paint or for the role-playing games because they're such great quality. Now again, I purchased more, I wanted this more for the game itself than the miniature painting, although I used to do a lot of miniature painting, but this channel has now become something I'm more interested in spending my time with, and you guys are more interesting to me than painting at the moment, but I do miss my days of spending time painting this stuff. Oh, I was wrong. I guess there is another tier to this. Wow. Okay, so again, you've got, it looks like there's enough storage here, which I really like, for all of the 6 player boards. And again, this is very similar to Black Plague if you've played that. Plastic dashboards, very cool. You got colored tokens for your actual heroes to go on the base. Of course, pegs that match that color. And then up here, you've got your heroes. So I can actually put these down for a second. I'll grab a couple heroes so they're not just stuck in the sheet, and you can kind of see. And what I really like already is I'm noticing that none of the swords are bent, which is actually really impressive because in some cases, oh, there's one here that's a little bent. But like typically when you see these things with swords, they are a little bit more beat up, but I'm also noticing the swords are a little thicker in most cases. But here's a good example of some of the heroes. This is just 4 of them, but you can see like the swords are relatively straight. If you ever get swords in a plastic form that are bent, you can just heat them up with hot water, put them into the position you want, and then put cold water on them, and they typically stay. Of course, if you kind of overextend them, it helps a little bit, but you want to be careful because some miniatures can handle that better than others, and depending on the quality, you don't want to snap your plastic piece, and that'll be a very sad day. So anyway, those all have their own spot in the tray, which I really appreciate. That's one thing about CMON games I love, is there's always a spot to put every miniature back. Check these guys out. This is probably what you guys want to see. Here are the big time monsters. So here's one right here. Looks like a gigantic troll. So he's pretty aggressive. Maybe I'll just lay him in my hand. There we go. So he's a pretty big guy. What else we got here? This kind of guy looks like more like a demon character. Looks like he's kind of on fire. Very cool. This one's really interesting. Like some kind of crazy spider. No, not a spider. Snake, sorry. Like an anaconda kind of thing. I don't know what. She's got like a bajillion hands there. That looks really cool. Swords are all over the place. That's awesome. This guy right here. I think this is the Hellhound, if I remember correctly from the Kickstarter. Really cool detail on that guy. Like look at the engravings in the side of the fire and flame coming out of his kind of out of his coat. It's just crazy because if you were to paint that, the ability to make that stuff pop, if you are into painting, you could have a field day with that one. Make it look really nice. What else is in here? We got the spider, of course. All those individuals who love spiders so much. Put this on your bed, and you'll definitely lose some friends. This guy is fairly large. Look at the palm of my hand. It fills the palm of my hand. The base. This is probably one of the biggest base miniatures I think CMON's done. Not for height, but for width. It takes up quite a bit of space. I don't know if there's any Black Plague monster that has a base this big. So this is pretty massive. And again, I don't know what's going to be in these other boxes, but this is base game stuff. So now you know. So what we're going to do is put these guys back where they were. And if I'm not mistaken, they were kind of in the back corner of this tray. So these guys sit in the back edge somehow. I'm probably going to mess that up royally. I don't know exactly where they sit. So maybe I'll do that later because they'll just look silly. These ones sit on top, I know that. But the rest of them I'm not too sure about. For now we'll put them off to the side and move further into the box. So let me give you a good idea of what the box looks like on the inside. So again, a nice insert actually. So you got an insert for your actual tiles as well as your cards. So each of your cards has its own spot. I really wish, one thing I wish with these is they would make these inserts sleevable friendly. They look like they're really tight. So I don't think you're going to be able to, and that's one thing with CMON Games I think they need to work on in the future is giving, they do a great job with inserts that are just temporary inserts, not like ones you'd buy specialty, but they don't seem to cater to the individuals who'd like to sleeve, although I probably won't sleeve this game anyway, but there are people who would, so it'd be good if they gave a couple extra millimeters up top and below for that. I got some decks of cards, so like the Wand of Healing. This is a level 2 card, can be held in one hand, it's a magic weapon. You can attack with critical, the hero or one ally in line of sight may heal one. If you get the gem, the hero or one ally in line of sight may heal 2. The really cool thing about this game is you got your typical kind of things when you're talking about a fight. You got your sword for attacking, your ranged attacks, so melee attacks, ranged attacks, magic attacks, and defense. This is magic. It basically lets you know to roll one red die. So this whole game, the cards will actually let you know what dice to roll. Unlike Zombicide where you're just always rolling a d6, this game is very interesting because you're rolling dice kind of, it's not a bad comparison, I guess it's the closest one in my mind, but Imperial Assault has those dice that are strategically staged so that some dice are better than others. There's quite a few other games that do it. Conan did it. All kinds of other games way before them too. But they went that route. So you can see here if you're using a short sword, for instance, it's a level 4, and it has one yellow die and one red die. So, and again, you got your blue die on your shield, so you're rolling that when you're doing shield blocks. So pretty cool. I like that. It just adds, to me, it's strengthening the Zombicide formula because, again, it's using tiles that are very similar to Zombicide, but using it a light and dark element. There's a shadow play going on in here as well, where you can hide in the shadows and then pop out for a kind of an extra attack and things like that. And if you're in the light areas, maybe something bad was to happen. So they've changed. It's just not like a clone of Zombicide or some cheap knockoff of it for them to make money. They actually did redo the whole set of rules and add a bunch to it to really make it a little better. But I don't know, I can't speak to whether or not this is a Zombicide replacement. I don't think I would replace Black Plague with this. I think Black Plague stands on its own, and these two are totally separate games, and they are, 100%. But you can see that that some of the stuff in this game is inspired by Zombicide. This one here, the Mace, level 1. Now the other cool thing I'll note, because I can tell you guys this, is that enemies or agents and other things like that and bosses will come into this game and they actually will come in with weapons on them. So if they happen to actually bring in a weapon on them and they are one of the types of enemies that use a melee weapon and they pull in a weapon that can increase the many dice that they roll during that attack, they can actually pull in similar weapons and actually combo them and use them against you. And then on the plus side for you as a hero, if you kill them, you can actually take that item off their dead carcass, which I think is really cool because, again, in Zombicide, most times you're running around searching for stuff. When you kill this big bad boss abomination, you get experience, but you don't get anything else. In this game, you kill a nasty enemy, everyone in your party gets XP, and on top of it, you get to kind of take the weapon or whatever it was they were carrying, which I think is cool. But anyway, enough about that silliness. Let's get into the unboxing still, because I don't want to delay that too long. All right, so I'm going to need a knife for this. I got to figure out where I just chucked my knife. So here it is right here. So we're just going to cut into these tiles so I can show you these tiles real quick. So it looks like what we'll probably end up getting covered in this one will be the core game for Massive Darkness in this unboxing. Likely what we'll do after these tiles are done and the rest of this base box is done is try to get into the chest and pillars box, and then the next one we'll kind of do the extras, which, again, you kind of have to hunt around for those because I'm not sure the availability of those outside of the Kickstarter, so you guys are going to have to do some hunting on your own as to whether or not they're available retail or not. But typically, even with Black Plague, most of the stuff was available retail afterwards. There was only a certain number of things that were Kickstarter exclusive. I believe the Black Plague cards that I got were Kickstarter exclusive. All right, so here's some tiles for you. So we'll do these one at a time. Let's see, best way to do this. I will put them here and bring them out one at a time. So here's one tile, for instance. So again, artwork's really cool. Has a really, really nice light effect, obviously. So it's very, very nice on the table. Flip it over, totally different layout. You got some other rooms, got some corridor areas. Again, some places are light, some places are dark. There's another one there. And of course, remember, there's pillars and bridges in this one. So not all tiles necessarily sit edge to edge with each other. Sometimes there's actually a bridge, like a corridor, where you're almost forced to go across a bridge, which will result in a lot of confined space battles. Whereas in Zombicide, you can usually find a way around something. This one sometimes pits you into a situation where you can't get away. There's a really cool staircase going down there. Again, I think there's going to be a lot of people in the fan, or at least on Board Game Geek, in the fan world there, that are going to build some really cool variants to bridge Black Plague with Massive Darkness. I remember from Black Plague there was those cellar kind of doors, those trap doors in Black Plague that allowed you to go like into the cellar area or like a treasure room and get a treasure or artifact card. So I could see people making variants, and maybe even the game designers themselves will, that allow you to maybe go down one of those trap doors and end up in this area, which is truly like an underground cavern area. I could see somebody building a campaign like that. I think it would be extremely cool. Again, I don't know how you merge the two games because they play differently, but I'm sure someone can find a way. And again, you can play, there'd be no real reason why you couldn't use these tiles in Zombicide and just play them as if the light and dark doesn't matter. And I imagine you could do the same with Zombicide, but the light and dark obviously isn't really there in that one. So again, very, very good artwork. I've always been a fan of Simon's tile design and stuff like that. They're always nice to look at. They do a good job. I don't know if I showed the background of that, so I'll flip it over really quick in case I didn't. Again, like a hanging light bulb. So again, it gives you a real feeling like you're looking down on things. And again, like the torches really light up the area, give it that sense that it's really bright and stuff like this. And again, there's bonuses for being in the light at times, and there's also bonuses for being in the dark. So it's going to be interesting to find out what's a good strategy once you start going through this. And you might be sitting there going, yeah, these kind of all look the same. I watched a couple playthroughs of people playing this game, and yes, again, like you're in an underground caverns in this game, so the core box has a lot of that. But there also are like crystal caverns and lava caverns and other things to spice it up. So keep an eye out for that stuff because it'll come retail as well. I will be getting to that, but maybe not in this part, maybe the second part. Okay, so this I'm not going to open up, but essentially what this is a gigantic pad of many, many, many different types of classes, essentially. I don't know if they call it classes in this game or not, but you can see Battle Wizard up top. There's some that are like Berserkers, some that are, whatever. All the different type of fantasy-based classes you could come up with. They've got a bunch of them. This is essentially like a character skill tree. So as you go through the game, if you get a certain number of XP, you can choose to unlock certain skills. And when you unlock it, you just check the box. It gives you access to that attack or that ability throughout a certain number of levels, right? So some of them start in level 1, some of them don't. And of course, later on, you don't get access to the ones in level 3 unless you have the prior skill. So it's a skill tree, essentially, but it's going left to right, horizontal, instead of vertical like some other games. But very cool. I like this. What I'll probably end up doing, guys, and what is a smart idea to do with this stuff is because it's all based in paper and you'll end up using it during your gameplay, it's always a wise decision if you're able to have access to a laminator to just go ahead and grab one sheet off every single one of them and head to your local store and just have them laminate in the cheapest lamination quality possible, because at the end of the day you can keep your game, I do this anyway, it keeps it in pristine condition, and then again you can almost keep plays saved on those laminated sheets, or just be able to wash them away whenever you make a change and use the same one over and over and over again instead of ripping and burning through all the sheets in the thing. So that's a nice plus. These right here are obviously just the cards that associate themselves with the enemies in the board. You're going to see a lot more of this when I actually go through the playthrough. I'm not going to rip all these open right now, but I guess, you know what, screw it, let's do it. I just said I'm not going to, but you know what, you guys need to see this stuff. You got to see the cards and stuff. I gotta show you some of them at least, as much as I can. So here we go. So again, I'm not going to care too much about the about what's on the bottom, but again, you can see like the kind of dice that you'd roll. So again, like not all of them are going to be the same, but these are essentially the kind of enemies you're going to run to, and they all correlate to the miniatures in the game, right? So you got orcs and dwarfs and stuff like this. And again, the base game's going to have a lot of enemies that you would typically see in a dungeon crawler. And then, of course, you've got your real big monsters at the end. And they obviously get stronger, which is really cool. So when you get to level 5, the heart levels are at ×5, so they're way stronger than they were in the original. There you go. There's some really there's like the giant spider, health of 5. This is a lesser roaming monster, and I'm sure these ones are the greater. Yep, so this is like the bigger version, 7. So they go up and up and up and up and get worse and worse. And, of course, you got your hero cards, too, that give you your abilities. So each of the different heroes, very, very cool. Again, straight up Gandalf is what that guy reminds me of. So very, very cool. And again, I like the tray, again, because I probably won't sleeve these ones. It's nice to have them fit into something. These are almost barely coming out of them. The dice in this game, this will help you understand what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the dice. Very much when I was saying they're very much like Imperial Salt. I don't know which ones are better than others, but I believe if you're talking attack and defense, I believe the strongest attack die is a red die. Has the strongest hit potential at 3, I think is the highest. Yellow would be the next best at 2, I think. And then you've got blue for the best defense dice, I think. And then green is the second best. Although I could be wrong. No, green is the best defense dice, and blue is the second best. So it's kind of like 2-tier for attack and defense. And the game will tell you to roll. And the cool thing with this game is the game will tell you to roll your attack and defense at the same time, so that you're basically canceling out attacks and defense as you play without having to roll twice. So if you're playing solo, that's great. You can just kind of go, oh, okay, well, let's roll these dice and then add up how many defense shields you got, how many swords you got, that kind of thing. I think it's going to be a real fun one to play solo, so I'm looking forward to it. All right, so that's pretty much it for the base game. Again, I'm not going to probably rip into these too much right now, because you'll see them as we go through, and I also don't want to give away any spoilers of the cool weapons that are in the game and stuff like that, so we'll leave it as is. I hope this is a good unboxing for you guys if you're interested in Massive Darkness and what comes in the game box. We're going to be moving next to the exclusive content that came in the Kickstarter, some of which will be available retail, some won't. So I hope you guys will stick around for that part. It's coming up next in part 2, so if you wait to the end of the video, you'll see a little annotation kind of pop up, or a little reminder there. You can click on it to go to the next video. Until next time, guys, if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up if you're interested in a showcase of Massive Darkness, because I'm excited and I hope you guys will join me. So until the next episode, keep on rolling solo.